What is up, Cabbage Crew? It is Matt and John. We are back after a few vacations and a little bit of a new get up for I guess both of us kind of view. But here we are talking about Avatar, anime, and all other cultural things. Um, yeah, I don't know. That's not the best beginning, but I will say we have a little bit of a shift that we're going to be doing in our channel. Still at the beginning stages, I guess. Although we are primarily going to be talking about our favorite show, Avatar: The Last Airbender. Um, I would say that's going to be a good third of what the channel is going to be. We will be also talking about other pop culture shows, um, Marvel, DC, other shows that are popular. Maybe we're going to play around some anime, which me and John are both not really versed in anime, but we are going to start watching some anime stuff here and there. Maybe some reaction channels. So we are still evolving in our little channel here. John, how have you been?
I'm really upset with you.
Me?
Yes, you.
I
And
went on a
you
couple.
know,
I
you
went on
know
a, I
why.
had to change it.
You know why,
Yeah, I had
James.
to go on a couple of vacations. I'm sorry. Okay.
Look,
Anyway, we'll move on.
our fans, our
Hey, our
subscribers,
subscribers are we didn't
we
lose any
didn't
hey,
mean to
we
do
didn't
this.
lose any subscribers, so thank you for sticking around.
Well, first of all, we gained
We
2
gained
subscribers.
subscribers. That just shows
All thanks to me.
that
All
shows
thanks.
that shows the importance of putting out good quality content. Just
Yeah.
people still coming in. All right, well, let's just jump right to it. Today we're going to be talking about again steering away from Avatar: The Last Airbender just a tad. We're going to be talking about some Marvel news. There's been a lot of different news stories in the last month, so we're just going to kind of play catch up. We're going to be talking about the Comic-con, San Diego Comic-con. And not going to talk about everything, but the main focus of a couple of different topics. We're also be talking about D23, which was a few weeks after Comic-con, and then we're going to be talking about Deadpool and Wolverine. And maybe some upcoming films. Who knows? So let's begin. John, do you want to talk about anything before we start? Any stories? Anything that has happened in your world in the last month? Or do you want to just jump into the Deadpool review?
Well, and I know you're gonna shit on the city of Pittsburgh for me saying this, but so we're gonna talk about the Pirates real quick. Uh,
Okay.
so it's been that long since we've actually, had an episode. So people have talked to me about baseball. They're like, John, how do you think the Pirates are going to do? Like, I
Mhm.
see, and they're like, I see the Pirates like getting second in the division and maybe getting a wild card. And the entire time of people wanting to talk to me, I'm like, guys, it all depends on how July works, how July um pans out. Um and so like, competitive all season, April through the end of July. And so I usually never say or predict things unless I have a solid understanding of like, okay, well, this is how it's going right now, and therefore it's going to end where I think it will end. And so, after July was a great month for the Pirates. They're
Oh
competing.
yeah.
They're like a game or two out of the wild card spot. And if you're, for those of you that are not baseball fans, baseball goes through the end of September before the postseason in October.
Mm.
And so post July, everyone I've talked to, I said, like, talk to me after July, because July will say whether or not the Pirates go to make playoffs, or they have the like they have the ground game to make it to the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
So I predict on literally the last game of July 31st that they will make playoffs as a wild card team. The day that the
Did they do it?
the day after 10-game losing streak. So they're 90% out of playoffs. They got all of September, but they need to go like 23-7 to make it work.
Your hot takes of sports just not the best. You know, you
Well,
love Kenny
no,
Pickett.
no, we're not going to
You
talk
think
about that.
Russ is going
We're
to be a
not.
top 10 quarterback.
That's
You you
that's
you
not what I say.
you thought Justin Fields was going to be, you know, this
That's not.
new
No,
hot takes across the board.
that's not what. No, if you go back to the
You
end of
think Tomlin
July,
should get fired? A lot of hot
yes,
takes. A lot of hot takes.
of course. And so they've been not doing too hot lately. But
Well,
this wasn't supposed to be the year anyway. This
okay,
was
fair
actually a
enough.
surprise. This was a surprise year of like competing,
Hmm.
and they lasted a good while. This happened all the way back in 2011 too, where they competed, and then they just fell off after the All Star break. The um This time they competed a little bit after the All Star break, and then they fell apart. Next year, next year's the year they're making playoffs because it's it's like the signs of like Voldemort returning. Like the signs are there.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, it's like
You
the signs
Pittsburgh
are there.
fans, you Pittsburgh fans are
It's
something
just
else.
true. It's
Pittsburgh
just
fans. All
true.
right. Well, let's just jump in. Let's jump in. Um, we both
That,
saw that.
that's the
We
news.
That's the news. Um, we both watched Deadpool. And
Mhm.
I guess I'll just again start
Go
with
ahead.
my thoughts.
Mhm.
My initial thoughts, if I had to give it a score out of 10,
Mhm.
5, or if I had to give it a score out of 5, 3 being a positive review, 4 being good, 5 being amazing, 2 being negative review, 1 being trash, right? That's kind of like
Mhm.
the Rotten Tomatoes way of doing it. Um, I would say the movie is 4.1, 4.2. It's a tad, in my opinion, it's a tad better than good. Obviously, it's not great, but it's a tad better than good. It's not the best movie I think I've seen in the year. I still think that's probably Planet of the Apes. I haven't seen a bunch of movies this year. I think Planet of the Apes. I haven't seen again. I haven't seen a bunch of movies this year, but
Sure,
the
sure.
5 or 6 I've seen in the movie theaters, I would say that's probably still my favorite. I think Planet of the Apes was a tad better. Um, but I'd have to watch it again. But I think the negatives for me is the plot's messy. I think they definitely messed up in a couple continuity things, which I think a normal person would say it's just Deadpool, who cares? But when it's in the MCU and the MCU is revolving around it, then it matters because everything matters.
Right.
It's kind of like either take the X-Men approach where nothing matters or everything matters, and the MCU's made it very clear that everything's continuity. So when it doesn't matter, so it doesn't line up, it's like, it hurts. Um, Overall, very funny, great cameos that made sense to the story. Great villain. Um, Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool is as good as ever. I would even say that Hugh Jackman as Wolverine Logan is as good as ever. Um, and Great fight sequences. When the heartstrings hit, they hit. Love the end. We'll talk about one issue I have. Not issue. Well, issue I have.
Sure.
But I want to hear your thoughts first.
Yeah. So I'm the perfect person to talk about this because
Oh,
this
cool.
was the only Deadpool movie that I've seen all the way through.
Really?
Yeah,
Hmm.
I saw the first one halfway through, and then I didn't I watched with a few friends, and like we had to go, or like I didn't like, I forget, it was like either we had to go or I just didn't like it and I just like stopped watching.
Hmm.
Um, but like I just didn't care for it at the time. This was like 6 years ago or something.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I just remember like I thought the humor was like way the same. It was the same thing with Thor Ragnarok. I thought the humor was way over the top. I thought
Mm.
it was very like crass with being over the top.
Mhm.
And I never saw the second one. So I was kind of like friends that we both know forced my hand to watch the third one.
Okay.
And I thought it was really good. Um, I gave it the original Tutor Ramble rating out of 10. I gave it a like I believe it was like a 7.84, like it was close to an 8. Um, and out of
Okay.
10. Um, I like the humor was on point. Like uh like it was timed right. Like it was
Mhm.
perfect spotting. Like it wasn't over the top. It wasn't like every other sentence was a joke.
Mhm.
Um, and so I like that the dial and so like when you have the jokes, that means the dialogue's really good.
Right.
Um, and so the dialogue was good. I agree with the plot. The plot was a little bit like, okay, where's it? Like, yeah. Um, and then I love the villain. She I keep forgetting her name, but she's in The Crown.
The
On
actress.
Netflix. Yeah,
Don't know. I think the name of the villain was Cassandra
yeah. But I'm just telling you, like the
Nova.
actress. Like I like the
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
actress,
Okay.
and
Yeah.
like
She's
she's
good.
incredible. And so like seeing her like age, because like the when she was on The Crown, this probably like 4 or 5 years ago, and
Right.
so like just as a villain, like she nailed it out of the park, and I was just so happy to see that.
Mhm.
Um, and then I thought the acting was good with Hugh Jackman. I mean, we're agreeing on that. Um, the one moment where I really wanted to just like stand up in the movie theater and just clap
Yeah.
because I always make the joke that Chris Evans was already in
Yeah.
Marvel
Right. Right.
before, uh,
Yeah.
like us growing up. When that happened, I was like,
Yep.
I really wanted to like actually do it, but um, that was a 10 out of 10, perfect for that.
I will
Um,
say being,
so
I don't do it as much now because of this, but being kind of more involved in movie news, watching movie news and watching different, you know, just like you're involved in sport news. I unfortunately had that spoiled for me. Um, that was like a well-known thing that people were talking about that Chris Evans was coming back as Johnny Storm. Um, and unfortunately, the third trailer had Laura in it for some random reason. That would have been
mm,
amazing for her to come out X-23. That would have been amazing for her to come out, and it's like, oh, that's amazing. But they spoiled it in the last trailer, so um, on trail. I mean, and again, Blade was spoiled. So was Elektra. The only one that was not spoiled in like news stories and small little like pictures on set was uh guy with cards. Can't think of it. Gambit.
mm,
That was not. That was and a couple of the other smaller ones. Like I was not. Some of the villains and stuff that were in it. I wasn't expecting. Um, two big things that kind of annoy me. Three actually about this film. So one is I think they missed a huge opportunity to have Loki in it. Um, not only have Loki in it, but to also talk about how King is no longer what's going on with King because they are obviously steering away from King. Um, there were reports, and then those reports were confirmed, which we'll talk about in a few minutes. But they're steering away from King. This was an easy opportunity to talk about how King is gone. Now, we don't know where their future is. Maybe they're going to explain it in another way. Um, but I think that was a big thing they missed out on. And I also think having Loki. John, have you seen Loki season two?
I have not seen season two.
Do you mind if I spoil Loki season two?
No, I mean as in no, as in like don't spoil.
Okay. Well, I will not spoil, but at the end of Loki season two, let's just say it would make sense for Loki to be in the movie. Not only would it make sense, but it would be a big question mark of why he doesn't show up, and he didn't.
I can just tell you that just based off of what you're saying, I can totally see Loki being in that movie. Like
Yes.
just the world and the atmosphere behind it,
And to
made
TV,
sense.
yeah. Yeah, the TVA. I mean, you saw Loki season 1, right?
Yeah, yes,
Yeah.
and the
So
yeah, and that's
obviously,
great. Yes,
right.
yes.
Um, yes. So it would make sense for him to be in it. It would make less sense for him not to be in it, which is what happened. Now, the third thing that kind of annoys me, and I understand that this movie was more of a love letter to all the Fox characters, which the Green Day song at the end with all the Fox stuff, that beautiful. But this was more of a love letter to Fox and less of a MCU movie, right? No MCU characters popped up besides a quick little video clip of Thor and Captain America, and then a small little cameo from the Hulk, who was not even really in. It was more of just him for like a second. But this is all like Wolverine and Deadpool are now in the MCU. They never really step foot in the MCU. They start in their universe, they go to the TVA, they go to the void, they end in their universe. Now, the argument I had with multiple people online. Yes, I'm one of those people that argue with people online. I love it. Something to do all day, yeah. I mean, what are we but not people that argue? The argument is that he did show up in the one scene with Happy. Um, I personally think my argument would be one: how did he get there? Because he had the time machine um, from what was the guy from the second one? The villain of the second one,
The villain of the second what?
Deadpool. Oh, you
Well,
didn't see it.
I
You
haven't
didn't
seen it,
watch
so
it.
I don't know.
Villain of the second movie. At the end, he gets the time machine. He's able to go back in time, and that is why it would make sense the TVA jumps in. TVA actually even explains, so that's not what we're jumping in. We're jumping in because you are this being, the anchor being or I'm sorry, we need you to become, we need you to leave. I don't even know the explanation, to be honest. That's why it was such a sloppy thing. We need you to leave your universe because your anchor being died, and we want you to leave your universe to go into another universe so you can still live because you're that important. You're not an anchor being, but you're important. I don't like that explanation. I think there's many ways around it, which we can talk about in a minute. But my biggest thing is that time machine was not a dimension, was not a parallel universe jumping into other universe machine. That was a time machine. So there's no way he could have gotten into Happy's universe without the TVA. So my theory is that it says 616, the main timeline, when he goes and talks to Happy and Happy denies him. My theory is that was his universe. 616 is not the MCU. 616 has always been the main timeline of the comics. And because Deadpool is able to talk to us, just like the Deadpool in the comics, this is the main timeline of the comics. This is like he lives in the comics timeline. And the Avengers are in it, just like in the comics. The X-Men are in it, just like in the comics. Now, Logan, from the movie Logan, was in this universe. He's the anchor being in this universe that they explained. In Logan, they talk about how all the mutants died, or the majority of the mutants died due to Professor X. So my theory is, in that timeline, there were mutants. They all died, or the majority of them died from Professor X, and they talked about the water or something killing them. So they needed heroes, so they formed the Avengers. So hypothetically, Logan's timeline, in Logan, there are Avengers as well. And that is also the same timeline as Deadpool. So they're all living together, just like the main comic story. You have Deadpool, you have Wolverine, you have the X-Men, you have all the Avengers, you have the Fantastic Four, all of them together in one main timeline, 616. But that timeline is now dying due to Logan dying. So that's why they wanted to pull him. That's the only way I can explain it, because that doesn't feel like our timeline. Like him talking to Happy. Yeah, just doesn't feel. He went to go talk to Happy. It said on the calendar 2018, which would have been in between Civil War and Avengers 3. Odd to have Captain America stuff on the wall. Him looking at Captain America stuff when he's a I don't know, a on the run. I don't know what they wanted to call him, but he was on the run. That's kind of weird to have that, you know. So that's my big explanation theory. I thought I did not like the anchor being stuff. I would have made more sense to say Deadpool was the anchor being, and the main timeline. If they wanted to say the main timeline was the MCU, they could have said the MCU, our timeline that we've been following this entire time, is dying now that Iron Man died because he's the anchor beam. We need a new anchor beam for the new universe or for the MCU because that's the main timeline. So the TVA decided to grab another anchor being from another universe, let that universe die, which would make sense because that's the Fox universe, and put them into the MCU. So now the new anchor being would have been Deadpool. That could have made sense.
Boom.
Boom. A lot of venting.
Yeah, no, I mean you're passionate about it.
Speaking of venting. Speaking of venting, if you want to talk about anything else with the Deadpool, we can move on. But there's something else we can vent about.
Okay. I just thought overall it was a great movie. I'm glad I watched it. I'll probably go back and watch the other two, just to have like a second try at it. Um, and like I think it's kind of
Deadpool 2 is
funny.
good.
I've heard it was less than the first one though.
It is.
Okay.
For me, it goes
Um,
3-1-2. I will
yeah.
say.
I was actually surprised that like I think I knew this like, from before, before watching the third movie, that Ryan Reynolds actually wanted to play like he was into Deadpool growing up and like wanted to play him as an
Mhm.
actor. Um,
Well,
and I think he does a great job.
he wanted to be Deadpool. He was Deadpool.
Yeah,
He was in X-Men Origins
I
as
didn't know that.
Deadpool. They
I
screwed his
didn't.
character up completely. They made his mouth gone. They made him into a villain. He just wasn't even Deadpool. Which they make fun of in Deadpool
I've
2
seen
plenty
X Men
of times.
Origins. I don't remember that. Interesting.
Yeah, and Wolverine Origins.
No, I know.
Um,
I've seen it. I just don't remember.
he's the one that like Sabretooth and Logan teams up at the end to fight. He can like
I just don't remember
teleport.
the ending of the movie.
Yeah,
I
good,
remember the
good,
beginning and some of the
good.
middle. I don't remember the end.
Yeah, and so yeah, so he's been Logan, and then what happened was he kept begging the studio like, "Hey, this is a great character, rated R. Let's reboot it." Blah 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 blah. They kept saying, "No, no, no, it's not going to make money. No, the audience isn't going to like it." So he like, I might be paraphrasing slash not telling the full truth here, but this is what I remember and read. He got his production company or a production company to make a fake, almost like a CGI kind of scene as Deadpool. He voiced Deadpool. They released it right before Comic-Con,
Hmm.
leaked it. Everyone loved it. Everyone was begging for it. Essentially forced Fox to be like, well, crap. And I think that's right around when Logan came out. So like Logan wasn't that successful. Not Logan, sorry, Wolverine came out. So they were like, okay, we'll do it. And that scene is the first scene where Deadpool's talking to us and then he jumps down and jumps into that truck and fights. That's the scene.
Yep.
And yeah, that's kind of how it all started. Like it very much was a Deadpool move where like he made the studio. He like made sure it was rated R. So
Yeah.
um so
Yeah. No.
and
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that. And um, the direct. I think it's been the same director all three movies, right?
I think
Sean
so.
Sean
Yeah,
Levy. Sean Levy.
Sean Levi or something. Yes, I believe so.
I forgot. I don't know how you pronounce it, either Levy or Levy.
Yeah.
But he actually directs like a lot of the Stranger Things episodes, and
Oh, really?
I am all in on it. I When I found that out, I was like,
Okay,
no
so
wonder I like the third one.
yeah,
But
yeah, I didn't know that. Yeah, he's a good director. I mean, I don't know. One
so
second
like
now.
some of the comedy, like the comedy cuts that he does in Stranger Things to Deadpool, like they're really similar. Not similar jokes, but just like the similar way that each scene's cut.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, "This makes total sense."
And then even the jokes, like Stranger Things has a lot of that like whippy joke stuff.
Mhm.
So it definitely translate. And that's kind of popular in just a lot of movies now.
Yep.
So one other little, and I want to get your opinion on this because this is another
Sure.
thing I was arguing with people online.
Mhm.
So in my opinion, this is how the MCU is. The MCU is the list of films that are literally presented to us by Kevin Feige, who is the head honcho, head producer of Marvel Studios, and it has been they did basically every Comic-Con or two. They'll have a list of the next X amount of years, right? You can look online, Marvel's Phase 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then just a list of movies. That is the MCU. To me, I look at it as like a ladder universe. Anything that's not on that, that are in other things that kind of reference the MCU, for instance, not Deadpool, Daredevil, all those Netflix shows, Jessica Jones, Iron Fist. Uh, um,
Morbius or more yeah, Morbius?
we'll get to that.
Okay.
The Netflix series, as well as um, that Inhumans show that came out, that like, and Agents of Shield. All of those are underneath the MCU, so they refer to the MCU. They're in the universe of the MCU, but the MCU is not in their. The MCU is in their universe. They're not in the MCU's universe. That's why it's a ladder, right? So if
Yes.
if Daredevil blows up New York City did not actually blow up in the MCU. But if the Avengers get attacked and Ultron destroys half of the United States, they are going to reference it in Daredevil, which they have done before, right? So that's why people say, why didn't Daredevil show up now in certain films? Because he wasn't really around. Now they did have him in Spider Man because there's nothing to say that there's not a Daredevil out there. It's just the one you've been watching is not that Daredevil. That is why when we see Kingpin in the Hawkeye show, it is not the same. It's the same actor, but it's not the same Kingpin. He's very different, just even how he is, right? So that's why I'm pretty sure that's why they're giving us a little wink at it's called Daredevil Reborn again, right? Because it's their like soft reboot. Now, Morbius, all those that's Sony owned. That's a completely different universe. That's a different multiverse. Um, Morbius and all the other Venom, all the other Sony shows, movies, those are all not part of the MCU. Those are just completely different things. Just like how Fox was. Fox was owned by, or
Yeah,
the,
because when they do the intro, because I remember seeing Morbius in theaters. I actually liked the film.
mhm,
But, I remember seeing, like, associated with Marvel.
right.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So basically, to kind of break it all down, Marvel was like running out of business. Like they were like going into bankruptcy back in like early 2000s. So they sold a lot of their rights. One of those big ones was Spider-Man, film rights. Spider-Man. One of them was the Hulk. There's a couple other ones, right?
Mhm.
Mainly the X-Men, Fantastic Four went to the Fox, right? A couple others. That's why we see, and the only way to keep the rights is if you keep making movies. That's why they had to reboot Spider-Man. They made three Spider-Men, couldn't make a fourth, had to reboot it in like within 6 years. They'd lose the rights.
Right.
When they rebooted it with Andrew Garfield, it didn't work out. Um, so what did they do? They said, "Hey, Marvel, instead of us rebooting it again, which we will do, but let's collaborate here. We'll put our Spider-Man in your universe. Let us keep doing like minor films with some of the villains. You can have Spider-Man in the films. Let us co-produce Spider-Man films." They made it work, right? Fox just got bought by Disney, so
Mhm.
that's why they got all the mutants back. Um, but I always looked at it as the MCU. Like, cool. I just lost you. Can you hear
You're
me?
good. Yeah.
All right. Deadpool, um, X Men, New Mutants, X Men 1, 2, 3, Days of Future Past, all that is not part of the MCU, right? And that's why it's a different universe, even in this movie. So what I say, I always say, like I was having arguments with people where I'm like, well, he doesn't end up in the MCU. He's still in the Fox universe. People are like, no, that's it. That is the MCU. Like he's part of the MCU. I'm like, well, to me, the MCU is the universe we have been watching since Iron Man 1. Iron Man 1 all the way up to the Avengers,
Right.
or all the way up till whatever movie we're on, right? That's the MCU, which is apparently 616. I think it's something else. Um, in Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. I don't know if you saw that.
Yes, I did. No, no, not the cartoon.
So the first and second one are
No.
both amazing, but in the
I
second one,
know. I've been needing to watch them, but
so in the second one and in the first one, they're both amazing, but in the second one, they explain multiverses
I'm
very
s
well,
yeah.
and basically everyone has an event in their life that happens to everyone in the multiverse. So for Peter Parker or for Spider-Man, it's a specific person dies, right? Makes sense. Uncle Ben, you know.
Mhm.
So, for you, it might be, you move back to Pittsburgh. And every John in every universe moves back to Pittsburgh, right? For me, it might be I get a dog. Like, you know what I mean? Like it could be something simple. My battery is low. Less. Um, so they explain it very well, but in one of the Spider-Men essentially say, um, don't get me started with that nerd in universe 10999, with everything he did with Doctor Strange. And that's referring to us. So I always have said, oh, it's 10999. I don't know exactly what it is. I think it's 1099999.
For sure.
And that's what he says. So anyway, that's a pet peeve of mine too. Because some people are like, oh, the MCU, like Deadpool's in the MCU now. I'm like,
Right.
not really. He doesn't. He ends up back in his own universe. Like he's still in a Fox universe. He's not walking around in the same universe as Captain America and She-Hulk. So, um,
That's not your only pet peeve, though.
oh, I have a lot. Parallel parking, bad.
No, you said
I don't know.
you said parking backwards and in
Yeah,
reverse.
yes, parking in reverse. That is a pet peeve of mine. Slow technology. I don't remember the third
And
one.
you know the third one? When you're going out and some guy at a bar comes up to you
Oh yeah, the whole story. That is a pet peeve of
and
mine.
you're trying to hang out with your boys.
Trying to
He
hang out
just
with
won't
boys.
leave you alone.
He just won't leave you alone. What was that guy's name? I don't remember. He was
I
from
don't remember
Hawaii.
either.
Okay, so let's talk about another. I've been talking a lot, so I do apologize.
No, you don't.
That's just a venting session. So let's talk about Comic-Con.
Sure.
So they did announce a few things at Comic-Con. I'm pulling up the
You're pulling up the
Comic-Con announcements. That is not Comic-Con announcements. That's Renfest. I'm going to Renfest this year. All right, everything that was discussed at Comic-Con, and then we'll jump to D23 as well. So Comic-Con has an Agatha All Along trailer, which
okay.
I personally do not care at all about that show.
The
Um,
Agatha one?
yes.
Okay.
What are your? I'm just going to kind of spitball here, and then you can tell me some of the ones you're into. As we spoke about, Daredevil, Born Again series.
Okay.
Um, Captain America: Brave New World, which also the teaser trailer came out, and we can talk
No,
about
yeah, I
that.
saw that. Yep.
Um, the Thunderbolts teaser, which has not been released, um, and kind of announcements and everything came out. Fantastic Four's First Steps
Hmm.
and Ironheart series.
Mhm.
Also, and Blade 2020. Blade is in 2025.
Okay.
Couple other things. Well, and Avengers Doomsday. It's Avengers Secret Wars, which we'll talk about. Armor Wars, Shang-Chi 2, Spider-Man 4, all TBA, TBD,
Mhm.
TBA. Um, they're in the plans, but they just don't know when they're coming out. I guess they
Right.
do, but they don't tell us. Anything stick out to you on that list? Before I'm going to go grab my charger, but if you want to talk, talk.
Sure. I'll wait for you. You can't hear me. But we're just gonna wait. La da dee, la da do, la da dum. La da dee, la da do, la da dum. He's coming back. No, he's coming back. He's coming back. He's coming back. No. No, he's back. He's back. He's about to put his hands hi.
My hair is a mess. What were you saying?
Oh, I wasn't saying anything. You'll find out during the editing.
Oh, okay. Yes. So, what are some announcements that you're interested in?
I mean, I like Spider-Man 4. I'm waiting for that to come out. I, there's a lot of people saying after Spider-Man 3 that, Ned is going to become Hobgoblin, and so I'm ready for that potential. Um, I'm excited for the end of the series will be okay. I'll be honest. I think what's going to really let down for me is the new Captain America. Um,
Yeah.
I do have a feeling about it. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah.
Um, but I just have a feeling it's gonna be one of those, like, it's just not as good as the other Captain Americas at all. Like, it's gonna be actually subpar.
It's
Um,
setting itself up for failure too because it's not Steve Evans
no, or Chris
or
Evans.
it's Chris Evans. It's not Steve
Steve
Rogers.
Evans.
It's not Steve Rogers. Steve Evans. It's not. It's not Chris Evans. It's not Steve Rogers.
Or
It's
Chris Rogers.
or Chris Rogers or Steve Evans. It's none of them. It's really none of them. Um, no, but it's like so you're having Sam as,
Mhm.
and I think most people love Sam as Falcon.
Oh, yeah.
Like, but he's not Captain America. It's
No.
like having an Iron Man movie and you have Rhodey. Yeah, it's like this is not Iron Man. This is
No.
Rhodey. Um, and I know
Like,
they
I
did it in the comics, but
yeah.
and I know there's a lot of political correct stuff. That's why I don't like either because they're bringing politics way too much into these movies.
Yeah.
And I know, obviously, Captain America is a political thriller, but it's the wrong type of politics. It's not supposed to be you know uh, racial equality, and it's not supposed to be social justice. It's supposed to be like a normal political thriller, which is taking down the government or something corrupt with the government, or you know something like that, like Winter Soldier, kind of like Civil War. Like where it's like it's us versus the government, and type of that's what most political
It's a
thrillers are about.
philosophy. It's
That's
like
yes,
it's more
yes,
of a philosophical, uh, discussion of, like, what to do in this situation.
yeah, and so we'll see. Red Hawk's in it. That's
Yeah.
interesting.
Harrison Ford's back as president, and I think that's gonna be a kind of a letdown just because, like, I love him in Air Force One, but that was 25 years ago. Like, that was
Well, he is supposed to be. Um, so remember Civil War? That one guy with the mustache, I forgot his name. Um, he's
Oh,
supposed to be.
yeah.
He's supposed to be that character. That actor passed away, and so he is that character.
William Hurt, I think it
William Hurt,
was.
his
Yeah,
character. So it's a it's just that's his character now. They even make a
right.
joke about it where he's like, I had to save them. I have a shave the mustache because it doesn't. That was their way of saying like same guy.
I did not know that. Okay.
Yeah, just like they did with Rhodey in Iron Man
Yes.
2,
First one.
where
Yeah,
he
yeah, yep.
where he's like, "Don't ask questions of why I'm like this," or he even says it like kind
Mhm.
of like, you know. But I agree with you though. I think it's going to be a potential letdown. The movie I'm actually kind of happy about and intrigued about is the Thunderbolts.
I have not heard anything about I don't know anything about it.
So Thunderbolts is like a ragtag team. If you remember, some of the shows have introduced that female character who's kind of like Nick Fury, trying to put together a team, but it's more for her like personal gain. We don't really know yet. Um, and the Thunderbolts are Bucky, Yelena, I think her name was
Is
Black
that
Widow's
Scarlet is that Black Widow's sister?
sister. Yep.
Yep.
The guy that was in Stranger Things, right? The guy that's in Black Widow.
Oh, yeah,
Him.
the dad, yeah,
Yep.
David, Harbour.
Yep. Him. Ghost of all people from Ant-Man 2, the girl that can phase through things. Have you seen Ant-Man 2?
Yeah.
The villain of Ant-Man 2, the girl that can phase through things.
I don't remember.
Yeah, her and and forgot his name, but Falcon Winter Soldier, the new Captain America. Him. So that's like a ragtag team that she put together. Remember,
Mm,
she even said she's like, we don't need a new Captain America. We need a U.S. agent. Like like she's recruiting
sure.
people,
Yeah.
right? So she recruited Yelena at the end of Black Widow. So like she's recruiting people to make her own
Oh,
team.
Julie Louis-Dreyfus's character.
Yes, yes.
Oh,
So
yeah, yeah,
she's
yeah,
like
yeah.
recruiting her,
Yeah,
and we don't know. I don't
yeah.
really know too much about the Thunderbolts, but like she's probably going to be using them for her own gain
Right.
and making them think that they're like the Avengers. And I don't know. I don't know. But it looks really interesting. They have one still picture where they're like all in a elevator, and
Yeah.
they all look pissed about something. It's a good picture. So it kind of reminds me of like a Captain America movie, just by like looking at them and their outfits and
Sure.
kind of what they're about. So
That has I think that has potential to be something good. Sure.
here's the.
As I'm not gonna be able to see it through the screen, Matt.
I don't
What were the other ones?
know. Um, again, some loose stuff like Shang-Chi 2.
Sure.
But Blade, which is the
There's
second rated R movie that
what was
Marvel
the
has
other
now
one?
done.
There was, like, 2 or 3 before that, like, it was, like, towards the beginning.
Agatha,
No, not that one.
um, Born Again, Daredevil.
Yes. I think it's gonna be interesting to see because it's a series, right?
Hmm.
I'm looking forward to that just because the only Daredevil I really know about is Ben Affleck.
Yeah,
So
there's a Netflix series. It's the same actor.
oh, well, then I have no idea what the hell okay. I
Yeah, so yeah, and that's why people are excited because they're using the same actor. But again, I think it's a different the actor they're all thinking about, that character is a different universe. This is the MCU's Daredevil, which is in our universe, which we saw in Spider-Man for like a split second. He also popped up in She-Hulk for a minute.
yeah.
So, um,
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to it. I haven't seen any of those Netflix shows like
mhm.
Arrow, Daredevil.
Okay,
I
yeah, I
haven't seen
mean,
any of those.
Arrow's
Flash.
DC, but
What?
Flash is DC
I
as well.
know. I know. I'm just saying I haven't. Do you not? Do you not hear what I have to say? I'm saying like I haven't seen shows like that
Gotcha.
where it's about a
Same,
superhero.
same, same. Actually, um,
Because
I have
Batman
not.
apparently a
I
part of
have
Marvel
not
now.
really. If you take away, and this might be just me being ignorant, but if you take away one or two of the early Marvel shows, like WandaVision, maybe Loki season one, I never really watched Daredevil. Probably should, but I feel like all the other ones suck. Like I heard Arrow's not that good, and again, I might be ignorant here. I haven't seen them.
I heard Arrow is actually good.
Well, I heard the first like couple seasons are good, and then it kind of falls
Yeah,
off like real
correct.
quick, and then it falls
That's
off, and
true.
then it keeps going for like another 5 seasons.
Yeah. Yep.
um, yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna talk about the big elephant in the room. Robert Downey Jr. was announced. Robert Downey Jr. is back, not playing Tony Stark, um, but he is going to be playing Doctor Doom.
Yeah. So my take on that is I usually when people it's like the Chris Evans thing. He was originally Johnny Torch or whatever his name is, and he got to be Captain America. That ended up working. Okay, like it depends on. Okay, shut up. It depends on if it can work. If there's a multiverse where like Tony Stark doesn't have that epiphany moment and changes who he is on the inside to be Iron Man, I can see Doctor Doom coming into play. So if they do something like that, I'm fine with it as long as they do it the right way. As long as it finishes strong. And so I'm okay. I'm overall okay with it as of now. but on the surface, I am against it. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, 100%. Like you're against it, but now that they've already announced it, it's like, well, you can't do
No,
anything about it.
no,
So,
no. I think like, I prefer a different Doctor. I prefer a different actor playing Doctor Doom.
right.
I'm just because like I think every character needs a different actor. That's the way it works.
Right.
Uh, but um, but like I said, if they do a multiverse thing, and like I said, if they, Tony Stark have an epiphany, I'm not doing this or that, and then that's
Yeah.
how it becomes Doctor Doom. Then it's like, okay, at least they have an explanation, and as long as they explain it good and right, and everything falls into place, then I'm in favor of it because
So,
they.
yeah, no, I'm the same way. I feel like a lot of people are the same way, but my thing, and this might be nitpicking in the sense. So they did when they as they announced him, and again, this might be them just making a mistake, not thinking about it, but they specifically said our Victor Von Doom is Robert Downey Jr. So they didn't say, "Hey, this is a different version of the Doctor Doom you know of." We've looked at comics, and I know Victor Von Doom is is Doctor Doom, but we've seen that a few times, so we're gonna put a spin on some of the other comics, and then boom, it's Robert Downey Jr. And it's like, oh my, he's coming back as Tony Stark in a different universe, and he's gonna be an evil Tony Stark who goes a different direction of Iron. Like that makes sense, but they say it's Victor Von Doom. so so and again, maybe they just misspoke, right? Or maybe they said that just to fuck with us. But I mean, I don't know.
Conspiracy theory. Maybe they did the fun with us.
But I don't know. I don't know. You know what I mean? I mean,
Ooh,
look,
maybe
they
the
literally,
aliens built the pyramids.
they literally said like 5 Comic-Cons ago, Captain America 3, Serpent Society, and then at the end, right at the end, they were like, "Gotcha, Civil War," and Robert Downey Jr. came out with Chris Evans, Chris Rogers. Um, but also with the Robert Downey Jr. thing is that so one is that they did say it's Victor Von Doom.
Correct. Yeah.
When you say, "Oh, they've recasted Chris Evans," the problem is that's a different universe, right? So when you're in the same universe, it's like them saying we're gonna reboot Harry Potter, but
Well,
but you know what we're gonna have the 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 guy that played one of the minor characters is now going to be one of the professors, and you're like, that's actually really interesting. But you're not doing a sequel, and you're like, yeah, remember the guy that played Ron? He's now just this other guy. And so that is my. It's like if they just introduced a new black character, and they're like, yeah, you remember Rhodey, the guy that played Rhodey? He's just going to play this guy too. It's like no. So, and if you're gonna do it, maybe voice acting's fine. Like I would be fine if Josh Brolin had a new character because he was Thanos, but
well,
whatever.
he actually is going to have a new character in the MCU.
Well, he was a character. He was the villain of Deadpool 2. I just can't
That's
think
what
of
it
his name.
was. That's what
Yes,
it was.
yes, and they made fun of him about it. Like in that movie, they were like, "Aren't you Thanos too?" Like they literally say that.
Mhm.
But and again, that's fine because it is a different universe and that's CGI. Like if they loved the character that was a CGI character or even makeup, if they were like, you know what, Ronan did a great job and we love that actor and that was the villain of the first Guardians movie, but we're just not gonna have the makeup on. And now he doesn't, it's like, okay, fair enough. You picked the most popular character in the entire Marvel universe, the character, and it's even worse because he takes off the mask and you're like, Robert Downey
Yep.
Jr., okay, he looks a little older, and then he puts the sunglasses on that Tony Stark always wears. And you're like, what? You're like, what the hell, man? Like, he's gonna show up and we're gonna be like, I hope you're right. Because I
Yeah.
think it's gonna be horrible if you're not right. Like, I hope the characters are like, "That's Tony Stark. What's going on?" Like, I
Mhm.
hope that's the situation, not like they're
Not
just
just
oblivious
a
to it.
recast, not just like
Right.
they
"Oh, this new villain that's in Thor 5, it's Scarlett Johansson." You're like, "What?"
Tony.
Yeah, it's like, "Oh, it's Scarlett Johansson, but she's wearing a cape." It's like, oh Jesus, and because it looks super desperate, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. Like, if you're gonna bring back the old directors, fine, because you can be like, look, they're doing all the Avenger movies, we're bringing them back for another one, and fair enough, and that's what they did. But it just looks like it's desperate. It looks like, oh my god, we need Robert Downey Jr. to save us.
Yeah.
It even looks more desperate if they were to say like, oh, Iron Man's back. Somehow like he came from a wormhole from a different dimension. We're gonna have an Iron Man 4 movie, but it's Iron Man from a different dimension coming back into our universe. And it's
Right.
like that looks desperate too, because it seems like you need like the whole point of a universe is like you don't need one individual character. You have the universe, just like how any TV show, Walking Dead doesn't need Rick, right? That's how it should be, you know.
Mhm.
So it would seem desperate if you have a whole universe. No, actually, everything doesn't matter. It's actually just because of Iron Man, Robert Downey Jr. Everything else is just candy. Thor
Mhm.
franchise, Ant Man franchise, that's all stuff that you like, but it's all about Robert Downey Jr.
Right.
That's not good.
Mhm.
So yeah, I'm venting a lot today. This is a venting session.
I'm glad I was been your therapist for the past 50 minutes.
Speaking of venting, Snow White. D23. Oh man. Whew. Should we talk about D23 another time?
No.
Its own video? Yeah. Okay. Well, I'm just gonna spitball some of these then, because I know a lot of them. There's a lot of meh ones. I just want to hear what your thoughts about a couple of these.
Sure. Sure, sure.
Um, Moana 2.
I saw the trailer. Um, looks good. Um, I find it um awesome
Hmm.
that I think they're doing they're doing both at once, which I think it's easier to do because it's like the same.
Both.
They already
What do you mean both?
well, I'm getting there.
Oh.
Like they're where like the one movie was already done, so they just have to adapt it to live action because they're making a live action Moana.
Oh, okay. Okay. I didn't know that.
Yes.
Oh.
And Dwayne The Rock Johnson, yeah, all that stuff.
Oh, okay.
Um, and so like they're like they were doing both at the same time is what I'm
Hmm.
saying.
Right.
Which is
A sequel and a live action.
pretty cool. Um,
Hmm.
and so the second one coming out looks good. Um, animation looks great.
Hmm.
I'm interested to see where the plot goes. Um, and yeah, I mean, good, good, good second sequel. You know,
Yeah. I'm not going to try to get political here, but it is the right way of how to bring culture into an animated movie and movie altogether.
Moana.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not disagreeing with that.
No, 100%. I'm just saying it sometimes, and I love Disney, but sometimes it does seem like they're forcing certain things on
Oh,
us.
100%.
Moana, Lilo and Stitch, another great example of
Oh
like,
yeah. Oh yeah.
you know what I mean? Like they
Ohana means family.
very, very
Yeah.
cultural, but they don't force it on us. They make
Mm-mm.
characters we love, and it's just around the plot,
Yes.
or it's just in the area because those characters are in the area.
Yes.
Same with Spider-Man. I know it's not Disney. Spider-Man into the Spider-Verse.
Mhm.
He's I think he's
Well,
half.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't
No,
seen
I'm
it.
just letting you know, like
Mm.
he's half black, half Latino, I believe, and
Yeah.
there's a lot of cultural stuff, and it's not in your face, but it's part of his family and part of
Yep.
this a little bit part of the story. So,
Mhm.
um, yeah, I can't wait to see that movie. I didn't even know about the live action, so that's cool. And Dwayne the Rock
Yep.
Johnson's gonna okay.
Yep.
Um, Monster Jam,
I've
no
heard
idea.
some things about it. I don't know much, but I know it. I I have no real opinion, but I've heard of that coming out and some things about it.
Hmm. I think this is a Korra spinoff, Avatar Korra spinoff, Fire and Ash. I don't know what that is. Um, Fire and I've never seen Avatar.
What?
I've never seen Avatar.
Not even 1 and 2?
Nope,
This
I've
is the
never.
3rd one.
I think it might be a denial thing where it's like I think internally it's like an enemy because of everything behind me. I don't know. I just never saw it.
Well, I'll put it to you this way. Have you I don't think you've seen this movie, but have you ever seen Dances with Wolves?
No, but I heard it's Pocahontas same kind of concept. Yeah.
Yeah. Is it a direct copycat? No. Is it very similar? Yeah, but it's told in a somewhat different way, and therefore I think it's still okay and pretty good. Um,
Yeah, it
especially the
adapts a
second
lot
one.
of
Especially the
things.
second one. I like the first one was very similar to Dances with Wolves and Pocahontas, all that stuff. The second one branches out of that a little bit and
Yeah.
focuses on a bigger plot structure, which I like the second one better than the first one.
Okay. Toy Story 5.
So it depends on where they're going with this.
I will real quick to cut you off because they did
Yeah.
talk about what it's going to be about. Um,
Okay.
it's very much going to be about technology and how children are no longer playing with toys.
Okay, that's stupid. Um,
I'm just letting you know that's what
well,
they talked about.
before the announcement, I preferred Tim Allen's take on that. Did you see what Tim Allen said
What did he
about it?
say? Mm-mm.
Tim Allen want again, I don't know if he wanted to retcon 4
Uh huh.
or not, but he wanted 5 to be Andy getting back his toys for his kids.
Yeah, maybe that's where they go. I mean, I think to be honest, I think the Andy trilogy. I always think if they make more than one trilogy, to make a second trilogy, and they're kind of interlinked, but they are also their own things. So I think it'd be interesting for the second trilogy to be about toys their more of the person like the lives of the toys. So we saw in the last Toy Story, we saw it was more of a personal story about what happens when you're lost. What happens when you're a lost toy, right? That was like very much the theme of 4. What happens if you're a created toy? You know, um, 4, it seems like they're going to go the route of what happens when toys aren't
You mean
needed, and
5.
it's 5. Sorry, toys aren't needed. 6 could be something else, which ends up with him getting it. It's like 6 could be very much the end of another trilogy with it wrapping back around to Andy getting them and then giving it to his kids. And you could be like, oh, well, another 10 years have gone by. Now Andy's in his early 30s, late 20s, and
Yeah.
he's now having kids. And somehow, some way, they make the way. Who even knows? Like for all we know, if there's a 6th movie, maybe they find out Andy has kids, and they're like, we need to go do an adventure across the country or something to get to Andy so we can be with his kids. And that would be a really
Mm.
cool idea for the 6th movie.
It'd be very interesting. I will say, I mean, yeah, I mean, I think we're thinking of great ideas with what they
Mhm.
should do and whatnot. Um, though I will say Quentin Tarantino, who I'll be honest, I'm not the biggest fan of,
Right.
but like of his movies, like I like Pulp Fiction. That's about
Mhm.
it. I you know I
He
wanted
is
to
like a
like
full.
I wanted to like Inglorious Bastards. I didn't like it after 50 minutes. I wanted to like Django Unchained. I didn't like it after 10 minutes. I know it's a hot take. I know I'm the minority opinion, but I'll take it.
That might be my favorite Jamie Foxx movie, to be honest.
Did you see Ray?
I did not actually. I know he won an award
He
for it.
won best actor for it, so I would watch it.
That's why I said mine. And Leonardo DiCaprio is great as a villain. I don't think I've ever seen him as a villain besides that movie. He was a great villain in that movie. Um,
He he's in Shutter Island. He's a villain, I believe.
mm, I don't
Or is
think
he
he's a
more of an
villain.
anti-hero?
I don't think he's a villain, man. Have you ever seen Island?
Not in a long time.
It's about okay. Well,
Well,
it's
I
hard to
mean,
explain. There's a long
yeah,
explanation for it, but
okay.
he's not a villain. He's more of just uh,
Lost.
a guy that's in a mental institute because
Yeah.
his wife killed his children and now he's going insane. And
Yes.
the whole time he's thinking he's a detective with
Yeah.
Mark Ruffalo. And at the end you find out
Mhm.
he's actually an institute person.
Yep.
And it's like all in his head and all. So
Yep.
yeah, I would say he's a villain though.
Any
But another
anyway,
great
back to
movie.
side tangent there,
What are we talking
sorry.
about? What are we talking about? Toy Story?
Yeah. So anyway, back to Quentin Tarantino.
Yeah.
One thing where I think he just speaks to all of movie people, especially those that like the Toy Story franchise. He's like, they didn't need to make a fourth one. They should have just ended with 3 and been done with it.
Yeah, we can talk about this is actually a really good movie, even a book topic, and even like a series topic of like where do you start or where do you end, and is it okay to continue going?
Right.
Because I would make the argument that yes, there was a perfect trilogy. They made four. Obviously, it's because of money, but take money aside, you make four, and even if four is good and is enjoyable, is that worse or better than having a perfect trilogy?
Yeah.
So, and that's a discussion we can have another day.
Yeah.
Um,
I'll show you the so he was on a podcast with Bill Maher, and he literally they spend like 7 minutes talking about like trilogies and
mhm,
like how like with what your question is, where like is the fourth one just as good,
right.
he puts the Toy Story trilogy 1, 2, and 3 as one of the best trilogies ever made, like
Yeah,
ever
yeah.
made. And
Well,
so
and then it's like, well, our trilogy is a dying breed because you make a perfect trilogy and
a
they all
little
make
bit.
great money.
Yeah,
Why
a
would you
little
not
bit.
make a
Yeah.
fourth? You know.
Hmm.
So, and
Yeah.
that's why I always say like, there's almost like I like the idea of making a trilogy. And if the trilogy works, make a second trilogy that's still connected, but maybe not like kind of like you have phase one, phase two, phase three,
Mhm,
which is the Infinity Saga. Now you have the Multiverse Saga, and it's like a
mhm,
different, obviously still connected, but
mhm.
not the same. You know,
Right.
um, so maybe that's what they're gonna do with Toy Story.
Right. Yeah, I'll send you the link and I'll tell you like
Yeah,
where to start, and you'll see what he has to say. But yeah, so I mean I ultimately agree with him. I mean, when they announced the fourth one being made, I was like, they are ruining this.
yeah,
And so far they have, and I'm just very no, I mean it's just true. Fourth
yeah.
was
The
not
fourth
good.
one wasn't great. Yeah, the fourth one
And
was the weakest.
very weak. Like
Yeah, I agree.
yeah. Um
Okay, well
I mean,
let's.
yeah, anyway.
No,
But
no, no. Good.
I I was just gonna say, like, it'd be interesting to see what they do with 5 and if s and 6. I'm not anticipating anything highly at all just because of how 4 was, so I'm not
Hmm.
going in, high praises. So, like, I hope I'm proven wrong. I hope they rebrand it or whatever, but it's just not gonna be the same. And if Mr. Potato Head's gonna be in this one because, Don Rickles passed away with when they made between 3 and
Yeah.
4, and so they use so what I'm trying to say is they used old recorded audio from Don
Uh,
Rickles to make him into the fourth one.
there's
So, like,
so many talented people now though that can replicate voices. I'm sure they could find somebody.
yeah, but what I'm saying is that'll either happen or B, they'll use, like, archival audio or,
Yeah.
CGI audio or AI even, who knows? I
Right.
mean,
That's
I don't
scary.
know. Yeah.
Um, two one movies I don't know anything about: Hoppers and Elio. I don't know either of
No.
those.
No.
Incredibles 3,
Incredibles 3?
hmm
Okay.
which I liked Incredibles 2.
Yeah.
This might be a hot take, a
Mhm.
really hot take. I think it's a little overrated. The Incredibles franchise. Incredibles 1 was really
Mm,
good. I liked
mm,
Incredibles a lot. Um, on the Pixar list, I would say it's not even. I would say it's above middle of the pack. But like in that era of like 10 great movies in 8 years or whatever it was, like it's
mhm.
like I think Ratatouille is better. I think Up's better. I think
Uh,
I
uh,
do, and that's just my opinion. But you know, I yeah, that's just where I fall. Incredibles 2 was okay, wasn't anything special.
yeah, I mean, I
So I'm
don't
still
yeah,
excited to see it.
mhm. Monsters, Inc.
I think Monsters Inc. was better. I think
I
Finding Nemo was better. It's like when you look again, Incredibles 1, still great movie. But when you look at the other ones that came out right around it, it's like I think those were all better. Now
if
does
you
it
pick
hold
5 Pixars, it definitely makes it. At,
do
like,
what?
4. It probably if you pick a top 5 Pixar movies,
I don't think it
Incredibles
does.
is probably around 4.
See, I don't think it does. To me,
Mhm.
again, to me, because I think Finding Nemo is amazing. I think Up is
Yeah,
amazing. I
that's where
think
we disagree.
Toy Story 1 and 2, and even 3. I mean, even if you say you can only have one of them, that's still 3 movies right there. Maybe we'll do a Pixar draft, but
Sure,
but
we can
I just or a ranking. But I
Yeah.
just don't think Incredibles is as great. But I'm still excited for it. Zootopia 2. I love Zootopia 1.
I've never seen the first one.
I might like it more than Incredibles. I love and I love Jason Bateman too. I've always been
Mm.
a big fan of Jason Bateman, so he's
Yeah,
he's the
he's a
main
good he's
character.
a good guy, good actor.
He's the
Funny.
main character. Frozen 3, which I don't really care about, but
I've never
cool.
seen Frozen.
Me either.
I refuse to.
Yep, and Frozen 2, yep. Um, but cool. It's good. It's
Unless
good for
unless I
them.
have a daughter. Unless I have a daughter,
Yeah.
I'll watch it.
I mean, and that's cool. Like that's again, that's another franchise where it's like I feel like it does it the right way. That to me looks more like a real Disney movie. When I think of Cinderella, when I think of Pocahontas, when I think of all these different movies that have come out, and
Mulan.
then
Yeah.
Mulan, and then some of the movies that have come out in the last decade, I'm like, these don't feel like Disney
No.
princesses. Frozen feels like Disney
Well,
princess.
that's they're trying to rebrand because it used to be about Disney princesses, now it's about other things.
It is, and there's some other one, but like some of the Disney princesses that have come out, or just overall Disney movies that have come out.
Mhm.
Some of them don't feel like especially Pixar.
Mm.
It doesn't feel like Disney, but Frozen has always felt like Disney for me. Mandalorian Grogu movie,
Grogu.
whatever his name is. To be honest, I watched Mandalorian season 1. I found medium-sized enjoyment from it. I thought it was more of a marketing ploy for Baby Yoda. Watched season 2 of Mandalorian, couldn't get through it. And
Season
then
2, the ending's good. I will say that.
I did see the ending through like a YouTube
Okay.
clip. Um, but it's just and a little bit off topic. Just all the Disney, Marvel too, but Star Wars TV shows have been also horrible. That it's like uh, there's a couple that I heard were pretty good, but overall I gave up, and it's just
Yeah.
it's watering down the content. When you get one Star Wars movie every 4 years and it's great or even good, you're like pumped for the next one. When you're
Yep.
getting 3 series and one new movie every year, after 4 years, you're getting 9 different movies and 5 different shows or whatever it is. It's just overwhelming. And then when most of it's bad, even when there's a good one, you're still like, I don't care.
Yeah.
Cool, good job. You made a good
Yeah.
movie.
Yep.
like, um, I mean, Marvel's the same way. When you're making 2 movies a year for 5 years, and 8 out of the 10 are a good to great, awesome. When you're making 2 to 3 shows a year and 2 movies a year, and you're getting 15 things from Marvel every 3 years, and only 4 of them are great, you're like, thank God I got one that I can actually watch again. Captain America, we talked about. Fantastic Four, we kind of talked about.
Yeah.
We'll just skip the Marvel ones. Um, Live action Lilo and Stitch.
I'm interested to see what they do. I mean,
Hmm.
I wanna see what Stitch looks like live action.
No, I mean,
Um,
yeah,
so we'll see. I just hope they don't ruin it like they've ruined a lot of things.
yeah. Speaking of ruining some things, Mufasa.
I saw the trailer. Look, I'll be honest. When they're doing live action of that, it first of all, it needs to be a cartoon. It just does
Hmm.
in my view. Because I actually think I'm like Lion King's my favorite Disney movie.
Hmm.
Um, like I was always interested in seeing the backstory between Mufasa and Scar. In all
Hmm.
honesty, I think there's a an obvious history there.
Right.
But doing it for a live action, I totally disagree with that. I think it needs to be animated.
Yeah, and they're trying to probably. I mean, they're doing what they always try to do, which is fine for a lot of things, but sometimes forced. It looks like they might be trying to do a Lion King universe where you have Lion King, you have a Scar movie, you have a Mufasa movie, you
Yeah,
have a Lion King 2, you have
yeah.
a Timon and Pumbaa movie, and they're all going to make good money. And hey,
Mhm.
they can probably make them all good. So it's like, why
Mhm.
not do it? But there is kind of a taste in your mouth when you're at least seeing the introduction for the because I'll probably go see this movie or at least watch it on like Disney Plus. And if it's good, it's like cool. That's another good movie that came out. Cool. But it looks like it is. I hate to say not needed. And I don't like that term like cash grab, not needed, because there's a lot of not needed films that we get, and we're like, you know what? That ended up being really, really damn good. I didn't need it, but like we didn't need another Spider-Man, but we got one in the MCU and we love
Right,
them.
right.
So like you know. But there is a kind of a taste in your mouth where you're like, Freaker Friday, cool. I
Yep.
mean, Freaky Friday is what it is. Tron, I've never been into Tron.
Yeah, I mean, I'm glad they're making the Freaky Friday again. A lot of people have wanted it for so long. And seeing Lindsay Lohan and Jamie Lee Curtis back at it, um, like it's great, you know. And so like I'm all for it. I'm sure it's gonna be a good family friendly movie. So I think it's needed nowadays more than ever. Something that's familiar
Yeah.
and something that we can all enjoy.
And it's nice to see Lindsay Lohan get everything together. I mean, I think she has for a while now, but it's nice to see her. And with this is like one of her biggest movies, and from like the early 2000s. So seeing this, and you want to be another, I almost hope this is successful, so we get to see a Parent Trap 2. Wouldn't that be awesome? Yeah, it's like I don't know how they would do it, but that would be really cool. But
Yeah,
it's nice to see Lindsay Lohan back in the spotlight and everything like that. And then the big one, Snow White. Um, I have no interest in this. I would almost be more upset about all this news. I don't know if you heard about all the news, and we won't get too much into it because it's social political stuff.
hmm
But we've seen multiple Snow Whites at this point. Like there's been multiple reboots. So it's like this is just another Snow White movie. It's a famous franchise. It's
right.
one of those things. They're gonna reboot it every for 10 years. There's gonna be another one. I don't know how many Snow Whites have been, but I feel like there's been Cinderella, Snow White. We've seen these multiple times. So
Yep.
I'm not too. A lot of people are like really upset about some of the stuff that Rachel Zegler said, or whatever her name is, and how they're treating the dwarves, which I get. I think they should just
Yeah.
get real dwarves instead of CGIing real people.
hmm
Not real people, Christ, but normal sized people. I think they should just get real dwarf actors, give them an opportunity to shine. Um, Greatest Showman did it
Yeah.
right. But I'm not the audience for this, and I don't really care because they've had multiple Snow Whites in the last
Right.
30 years. So, well, kind of a lengthy podcast.
Yeah.
Takes up some time. Good
Yep.
podcast. Sorry if
Yep.
I vented 3, 4, 5, 7 times. Um, but yeah, good talking. We will kind of reorganizing some things with the end of summer and with football. Not gonna lie, coming up. So we're gonna be putting out more videos. We'll have maybe a new time day. We don't know. We'll talk about that. Um, but yeah, John, any last thoughts? Any goodbyes?